The manila folder slipped from my trembling fingers, legal documents scattering across my father's mahogany desk like fallen leaves. I had to read the words again, convinced my eyes were playing tricks on me. They weren't. My name is Chloe, and I just discovered I've been written out of my parents' will. Did you find the insurance papers? My mother Viviana's voice floated up from downstairs, making me jump. I'd offered to look for them while they were entertaining my brother Elijah and his latest business success. Not yet, I called back, my voice surprisingly steady despite the hurricane of emotions threatening to tear me apart. I gathered the papers quickly, but one line kept jumping out at me. All assets to be transferred to Elijah Mackenzie. The sound of laughter drifted up from below. That familiar warm rumble of my father Edmund's chuckle mixing with Elijah's confident tone. The same sounds I'd grown up with, always feeling like an outsider looking in. Chloe? My best friend Leah's text lit up my phone. How's the family dinner going? I snapped a photo of the will and sent it to her. Her response was immediate. Holy shit, call me now. I'll be right down, I shouted to my family, slipping into the hallway bathroom. I pressed Leah's contact and held my breath. What the actual fuck? Leah's voice was a fierce whisper. When did they do this? The date shows last month, I replied, gripping the sink edge. Right after Elijah's promotion to CEO. While you were busy running your own successful business, the one you built from scratch? Apparently that doesn't count. I caught my reflection in the mirror, green eyes bright with unshed tears, dark hair falling from its careful arrangement. Mom's always made it clear that Elijah's achievements matter more. A knock at the door made me jump. Honey, my father's voice, your mother's serving dessert. Coming. I ended the call with Leah, splashed cold water on my face, and painted on my best smile. The dining room was a shrine to family success, all Elijah's, of course. His graduation photos, business awards, and newspaper clippings decorated the walls. My own achievements were relegated to a single family photo from my college graduation, tucked away in a corner. There you are, my mother said, serving tiramisu. Elijah was just telling us about his new development project. Fascinating, I managed, taking my seat. Did you tell them about the Anderson contract? I asked him, referring to the client he'd stolen from my consulting firm last month. Elijah's smile flickered. Ancient history, sis. We're focusing on the future now. Speaking of future, my mother interjected, Elijah's considering buying a house in the neighborhood. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have him closer? I stabbed my dessert with more force than necessary. Wonderful. You know, Chloe, my father said gently. You could move closer too. That apartment downtown must be getting cramped. My apartment suits me fine, I replied, thinking of my penthouse office space and the view of the city I'd earned through years of hard work that apparently meant nothing to them. Well, you might change your mind once you meet the right person, my mother added. Elijah, tell Chloe about that lovely lawyer you met at the country club. I pushed my chair back abruptly. I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. But you've barely touched your dessert, my mother protested. Lost my appetite. I grabbed my purse, kissed my father's cheek out of habit, and headed for the door. Chloe, Elijah called after me, don't forget the charity gala next week. The family should present a united front. I turned back, meeting his eyes. Wouldn't want to disappoint the family, would I? The drive home was a blur of streetlights and suppressed screams. I parked in my building's garage and sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My phone buzzed. Leah again. Come over. I have wine and a shoulder to cry on. I started to type on my way when another text came through. This one from Valeria, my colleague in real estate development. Remember that conversation about property rights? Found something interesting. Call me when you can. I stared at the message, something clicking into place. The family home. My parents' pride and joy, the symbol of their perfect life with their perfect son. What if? Rain check on the wine. I texted Leah. I need to research something. Opening my laptop, I began to search property records, my hands steady now, driven by purpose rather than anger. If they thought they could write me out of the family legacy, they had another thing coming. I was done being the good daughter. It was time to show them exactly what I was worth. You're telling me the land under your parents' house isn't included in the property deed? Leah leaned forward on my office couch, wine glass forgotten in her hand. It's called a land lease, I explained, spreading the documents across my coffee table. Pretty common in the 1960s when the house was built. My grandfather only bought the house, not the land beneath it. And nobody owns the land now? The original lease company went bankrupt in the 90s. The land's been in legal limbo ever since. I tapped the property records on my screen. My parents probably don't even know. They just pay property taxes on the house itself. Leah's eyes widened. So theoretically, someone could buy the land right out from under them? Exactly. I closed my laptop with a satisfying click. Chloe. Leah set down her wine glass. That's deliciously evil. I love it. My phone buzzed. Valeria calling. I put her on speaker. You're not going to believe this, she said without preamble. I talked to my contact at the county assessor's office. The land is going up for public auction next month. Leah clapped her hands silently, mouthing, "Do it." What's the starting bid? I asked. That's the best part. It's ridiculously low because of the legal complications. Most developers won't touch it because of the existing structure. I remembered every dismissive comment my mother had ever made about my career choices. Send me the details. I want to be first in line. After hanging up, Leah poured more wine. Your mother's going to have a stroke when she finds out. If she finds out, I corrected, the purchase can be made through a shell company. They'll never know it's me. Speaking of your mother, Leah pulled up a social media post on her phone. Look what she shared yesterday. It was a photo from the country club, featuring Elijah shaking hands with some executives. The caption read, "So proud of my son's latest achievement, following in his father's footsteps perfectly." Funny, I said, taking a large sip of wine. She never shared anything about my company making the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Remember when she said your business was just a hobby at Christmas dinner? Right after Elijah announced his engagement to what's-her-name who lasted all of 3 months. I stood up, pacing. You know what really kills me? Dad used to be different. He used to come to all my debate competitions, my graduation speeches. Then one day, it's like he just gave up. Gave up what? Fighting Mom's narrative that Elijah was the golden child, and I was just there. My phone buzzed again. A text from my father. You left so quickly tonight. Everything okay? Speak of the devil, I muttered, showing Leah the message. Are you going to tell him about the will? What's the point? I tossed the phone aside. He signed it too. The next morning, I met Valeria at her office. She had more documents spread across her desk, post-its marking key pages. The auction's in 3 weeks, she said. I've already started the paperwork for your shell company. But Chloe, are you sure about this? Why wouldn't I be? Because once you own the land, you'll have real power over your family's home. That's heavy stuff. I thought about the family photos on the walls, all carefully arranged to showcase Elijah's path to success. They made their choice. Now I'm making mine. There's something else. Valeria slid another document across the desk. Natasha Ray's development company has been sniffing around the area. If they find out about the auction, they won't, I said firmly. How much liquid capital do I need? As Valeria quoted figures, my phone lit up with a group text from my mother. Family dinner this Sunday. Elijah has exciting news to share. I bet he does, I murmured. What? Valeria looked up. Nothing. I signed the preliminary paperwork. Just family stuff. Send me the rest to review. Later that afternoon, I stood at my office window, looking out at the city skyline I'd worked so hard to be part of. My company logo glowed on a building 2 blocks away, proof that I wasn't just Elijah's little sister anymore. My phone buzzed with an email from Leah. Found this while cleaning. Attached was a photo from 10 years ago, me at my business launch party, beaming with pride. My father was there, arm around my shoulders, looking genuinely proud. My mother and Elijah were notably absent. I touched the screen, remembering that moment. Then I opened my banking app and started transferring funds for the auction. Game on! I whispered to my reflection in the window. Let's see how they like being powerless for a change. The auction room buzzed with quiet conversation as I adjusted my wig and glasses. Valeria sat beside me, both of us dressed in conservative business suits that would blend in with the other developers and investors. Lot 247 coming up, she whispered. Remember, let me do the bidding. You're just here to observe. I nodded, my heart pounding as the auctioneer cleared his throat. Next up, Lot 247, land parcel in the Heritage District, currently leased property with existing structure. A few heads turned our way, other developers probably wondering about the new faces in the crowd. I kept my expression neutral, even as I spotted Natasha Ray 3 rows ahead, her red power suit impossible to miss. The bidding started low, just as Valeria had predicted. A few half-hearted offers from the front row, nothing serious. Then Natasha's hand went up, doubling the price. Valeria waited 2 more bids before joining in. My palms were sweating as the numbers climbed. This was my entire savings, plus a business loan, all riding on the next few minutes. Going once at $850,000. The auctioneer called. Natasha turned around, scanning the room. Her eyes locked with mine for a moment, but the disguise held. She turned back, raised her paddle one last time. $900,000. Valeria looked at me. I gave her the smallest nod. 1.2 million, she called clearly. The room went silent. Natasha's shoulders stiffened, but she didn't turn around again. 1.2 million, going once, going twice. Sold to bidder number 183. My hands were shaking as we signed the paperwork. Outside the auction house, Valeria finally broke into a grin. Congratulations! You now own the land under your family's house. My phone buzzed. Speaking of family, a text from Elijah. Missing you at Sunday dinner. Mom's making your favorite lasagna. Like hell it's my favorite, I muttered, remembering how she'd always made Elijah's preferred meat sauce instead of my vegetarian recipe. Ms. Mackenzie? A voice called from behind us. We turned to see Natasha Ray approaching, hand extended. I don't believe we've met. I'm Natasha Ray, Pinnacle Development. I kept my wig on but removed the glasses. No point hiding now. Chloe Mackenzie, pleasure. That was quite a bold move in there. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm curious about your plans for the property. I'm sure you are. I matched her smile. I'll have my office contact yours. Back at my office, I found my father waiting in the lobby. My stomach dropped. Did he somehow know already? Dad, what are you doing here? Can't a father visit his daughter at work? He looked around the modern space appreciatively. This is quite impressive, Chloe. Thanks, I said cautiously. What's really going on? He sighed, shoulders slumping. Your mother's worried about you. You've missed 3 Sunday dinners in a row. I've been busy. I led him to my office, closing the door. Running a successful business takes time. Oh, wait, that only counts when Elijah does it. That's not fair, Chloe. Isn't it? I pulled up the photo of the will on my phone, showing it to him. Want to talk about what's really not fair? The color drained from his face. Where did you get this? Does it matter? You signed it, Dad. You and Mom both decided I wasn't worth including. It's not that simple, he started. It never is with this family, is it? I turned to the window, fighting back tears. You should go. I have a meeting. Chloe, please, come to dinner on Sunday. Elijah's announcing his engagement. I spun back around. Again? What is this, number 4? Your mother really wants the whole family there. I'm sure she does. I thought of the property deed sitting in my briefcase. Fine, I'll be there. After he left, I called Leah. It's done. I own the land. Holy shit, she squealed. How does it feel? Terrifying, exciting. I don't know. I picked up the deed. Elijah's announcing another engagement on Sunday. Please tell me you're going. The timing is perfect. Not yet, I said, thinking of Natasha's calculating smile at the auction. I need all my pieces in place first. My phone dinged with an email from Natasha Ray, interested in discussing a potential partnership regarding the Heritage District property. Dinner tomorrow? I smiled, remembering every dismissive comment, every missed achievement, every time I was pushed aside for Elijah. The land deed felt heavy in my hands, heavy with possibility, with power, with revenge. Game on indeed, I whispered, and began typing my reply to Natasha. $15 million? I set down my wine glass carefully, studying Natasha's face across the restaurant table. That's quite an offer for a simple land lease. Simple? Natasha laughed. We both know there's nothing simple about that property, Chloe, especially considering who lives there. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. You've done your homework. Of course I have, just like you did your homework before the auction. She leaned forward. The question is, what's your real end game here? Maybe I just like real estate investments. Please, Natasha signaled for more wine. You borrowed against your company to buy land under your parents' house. This is personal. I maintained eye contact as I took another sip of wine. And what if it is? Then we might be able to help each other. She pulled out a tablet, sliding it across the table. Take a look at our development plans for the area. The renderings showed a modern mixed-use complex, retail, offices, luxury condos, right where my parents' house currently stood. You want to demolish the house, I said flatly. We want to revitalize the neighborhood. Your parents would be generously compensated, of course. My phone buzzed. A text from Elijah. Where are you? Family meeting at the house. Important news. Excuse me, I said to Natasha, stepping away from the table to call him. What's so urgent? I asked when he answered. Mom and Dad are selling the house. My stomach dropped. What? Some developers been making offers in the neighborhood. They think it's time to downsize anyway. I glanced back at Natasha, who was calmly sipping her wine. When did they decide this? Just now. Mom's already talking about condos in Florida. Get over here. We need to discuss the details. 20 minutes later, I walked into my parents' living room to find them gathered around the coffee table. Real estate listings spread everywhere. There you are. My mother barely looked up. Elijah's found the perfect place in Palm Beach. We could be neighbors. You're moving to Florida too? I asked him. Julia loves the ocean. He wrapped an arm around his fiancée, the latest one, whom I'd met exactly twice. And what about this house? I asked carefully. All the memories here? Oh, honey. My mother patted my hand condescendingly. Sometimes we have to let go of the past. Besides, the offer from Pinnacle Development is too good to refuse. You've already talked to them? I fought to keep my voice steady. Their representative reached out last week, my father said. Very professional. They're offering well above market value. Of course they are, I muttered. What was that? Nothing. I pulled out my phone, texting Valeria. They're selling. Need to move faster. Chloe, dear, my mother's voice cut through my thoughts. While you're here, we should discuss the will. My head snapped up. What about it? Well, with the house being sold, We'll need to make some adjustments. Elijah, as executor? Actually, I cut in, standing up. I need to go. I have a dinner meeting. More important than family? My mother's disapproval was palpable. You tell me, Mom. You're the expert on what's important in this family. I drove straight back to the restaurant, where Natasha was still waiting. You knew, I accused, sliding into my seat. You knew they were planning to sell. I knew they were considering it. She smiled. Changes things, doesn't it? How so? Well, now you have a choice. You can either reveal your ownership and stop the sale, probably destroying your family relationships in the process. She paused, swirling her wine. Or you can partner with me, make a healthy profit, and let them believe they made the choice themselves. I thought about my mother's dismissive pat, Elijah's casual announcement about Florida, my father's quiet acceptance of it all. What exactly are you proposing? Natasha's smile widened. Let them sign the sale agreement. Once that's done, we reveal that the land was separately owned. They'll be embarrassed, of course, but by then it won't matter. The house will be sold. They'll have their money, and you'll have your satisfaction. And you get your development. Everybody wins. She raised her glass. What do you say? My phone buzzed again. A text from Leah. How's Operation Revenge going? I looked at Natasha's expectant face, then at the development plans on the tablet. The house I grew up in would be gone, replaced by steel and glass. My childhood home, erased like so many of my achievements, had been erased from family conversations. I need time to think, I said finally. Don't take too long. Natasha stood, dropping her business card on the table. Opportunities like this don't wait forever. I stayed at the table long after she left, staring at the card and wondering when revenge had gotten so complicated. Your mother did what? Leah nearly dropped her coffee cup as we sat in my office the next morning. Invited the Pinnacle Development team to Sunday dinner, I said, pacing, to discuss the future of the neighborhood over pot roast. The same dinner where Elijah's announcing his engagement? Apparently, it's going to be quite the event. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from my father. Mom's invited half the country club. Are you going? Before I could answer, Valeria burst in, waving a document. We have a problem. Natasha Ray just filed for expedited development permits. She can't do that without owning the property, I said. She's listed your parents' signed intent to sell as preliminary documentation. Valeria spread the papers across my desk. She's moving fast, Chloe. My phone buzzed again. My father. This time, I answered. Chloe, thank God, he said. Can you meet me for coffee? Alone? 20 minutes later, I found him at our old favorite cafe, the one we used to visit after my debate competitions in high school. He looked older, tired. I found something in the attic, he said without preamble, sliding a folder across the table, while looking for papers for the house sale. Inside were newspaper clippings, every article ever written about my business achievements, carefully preserved, my Forbes feature, the Chamber of Commerce award, even the small write-up from my first client signing. You kept these? Of course I did. He stirred his coffee absently. I know I haven't always stood up for you, Chloe. Your mother, she has strong ideas about family legacy. You mean about Elijah's legacy? I should have fought harder. He looked up, eyes wet. The will? It wasn't my idea. But you signed it? I did, and I've regretted it every day since. He pulled out another document. That's why I had this drawn up last week. It was a new will, splitting everything equally between Elijah and me. Dad, I haven't shown your mother yet, or Elijah. He reached for my hand. But before I do, there's something else you should know about the house sale. My heart stopped. What about it? Tessa, our lawyer, she found some irregularities in the property records. Something about the land lease. The cafe door chimed, and my mother's voice cut through the moment like a knife. Edmund, what are you doing here? We both turned to see her standing there, Elijah at her side. Having coffee with my daughter, my father said firmly. Would you like to join us? Actually, my mother said, sliding into a chair, we need to discuss Sunday's dinner. The Pinnacle team confirmed, and Elijah has his big announcement. I know about the will, I blurted out. The cafe went silent. My mother's face paled, then hardened. How dare you go through our private papers, she started. How dare you write me out of the family, I shot back. It's not like that, Elijah interjected. The family business. What family business? I laughed bitterly. My company is more successful than yours, but that never mattered, did it? Chloe, my mother's voice was ice. You're making a scene. No, Mother, I'm finally speaking up. I pulled out my phone, pulling up the property records. And since we're all here, there's something you should know about the house sale. What about it? Elijah leaned forward. My finger hovered over the screen, ready to show them everything. Then I saw my father's face, the hope there, the new will in his pocket, the carefully preserved clippings. My phone buzzed. Natasha, time's running out. Do we have a deal? I looked at my family, my mother's rigid disapproval, Elijah's practiced concern, my father's quiet guilt. Years of feeling invisible, of being pushed aside, of watching my achievements be dismissed. The land lease, I said finally. You might want to have Tessa look into it before signing anything with Pinnacle. Why? My mother demanded. Just trust me on this. I stood up, gathering my things. Oh, and Mother, I'll be at dinner on Sunday. I have an announcement of my own to make. Outside, I called Natasha. I've made my decision, I said, watching my family through the cafe window. My father was pulling out the new will, my mother's face growing stormy as she read it. And, Natasha asked, let's talk about those development plans again, but this time we do it my way. I hung up and texted Leah. It's time. Sunday dinner is going to be interesting. The response was immediate. Want me there for backup? I watched my mother storm out of the cafe, Elijah trailing behind her, my father sitting alone with his head in his hands. Yes, I typed back. Bring popcorn. Sunday dinner felt like a powder keg waiting to explode. My mother had outdone herself. Crystal glasses, fine china, fresh flowers everywhere. The Pinnacle development team sat at one end of the dining table, Natasha Ray looking perfectly at ease as she chatted with Elijah and his fiancée Julia. Chloe, my mother's voice was honey-sweet for the guests. Would you help me in the kitchen? I followed her, catching Leah's supportive wink from her seat next to my father. What is she doing here? My mother hissed once we were alone, gesturing toward Leah. She's my +1. I started arranging appetizers on a silver tray. Like Julia is Elijah's. That's different. Julia is family. For now, I muttered, thinking of Elijah's previous 3 engagements. I heard that. She grabbed my arm. Don't you dare make a scene tonight. This deal with Pinnacle is too important. Oh, I wouldn't dream of it, Mother. I smiled sweetly. I'm just here to make my announcement, remember? Her eyes narrowed. What announcement? You'll see. Back in the dining room, Natasha was mid-pitch. The development will completely transform the neighborhood. Property values will soar. Sounds wonderful, my mother beamed. Edmund, doesn't it sound wonderful? My father nodded absently, pushing food around his plate. He hadn't looked at anyone since the cafe incident. Actually, Elijah stood, raising his glass. Before we discuss business, Julia and I have an announcement. Here we go, Leah whispered, squeezing my hand under the table. We're getting married. Julia flashed her enormous diamond ring. And we're building our dream home right here in the neighborhood as part of the Pinnacle development. My mother burst into tears of joy. Natasha smiled like a cat who got the cream. My father just stared at his plate. Congratulations, I said, standing. What perfect timing. I have an announcement too. Chloe, my father's voice held a warning. It's about the development project, actually. I pulled out a folder, specifically about the land the house sits on. Natasha's smile faltered slightly. My mother stopped crying. What about it? Elijah asked. Well, funny story. I started passing out copies of the property documents. It turns out the land under this house has been separate from the property deed since 1960, and 3 weeks ago it was purchased at public auction. The room went dead silent. By whom? My mother's voice was dangerous. By me. I met her eyes across the table. Through my company. So technically, you can sell the house to Pinnacle, but the land, that belongs to me. Chaos erupted. My mother knocked over her wine glass. Elijah started shouting about family loyalty. Julia clutched her ring in horror. You can't do this, my mother shrieked. Actually, she can, Natasha interjected smoothly, and she has every right to. All eyes turned to her. You knew, Elijah accused. Of course I knew. Why do you think I invited Chloe to partner with Pinnacle? Natasha smiled. She owns the most crucial piece of the development puzzle. Partner? My mother's face was scarlet. There will be no partnership. This is our family home. The home you were ready to sell to strangers? I shot back. The home that was going to be part of Elijah's perfect life, just like everything else? That's not fair, Elijah started. Fair? I laughed. Like writing me out of the will was fair? Like dismissing every achievement I've ever had was fair. I kept them, my father said quietly. Everyone turned to him. What? My mother asked. Her achievements, every newspaper clipping, every award, I kept them all. He finally looked up. While you were busy planning Elijah's life, our daughter built an empire of her own, and I never gave her the recognition she deserved. Edmund, my mother gasped. No, Viviana, enough. He stood up. Chloe, whatever you plan to do with the land, it's your right. You've earned it. Natasha cleared her throat. Perhaps this is a good time to discuss Chloe's alternative development proposal? I pulled out another set of documents. The house stays, but we build around it, creating a mixed-use space that preserves the neighborhood's history while moving it into the future. The family keeps their home. Under my terms. Your terms? My mother spat. Yes, starting with a new will, splitting everything equally. And acknowledgement, real acknowledgement, of my place in this family. The room fell silent again. Leah squeezed my hand harder. Finally, Elijah spoke. I'll sign whatever you want. Just don't tear down our home. I looked at my mother, who sat rigid with fury, then at my father, who gave me the smallest nod of approval. Well then, I said, raising my glass. Shall we discuss terms? Sign it, Mother. I pushed the new will across the lawyer's conference table. A week had passed since the dinner revelation, and we were finally here, the moment of truth. This is blackmail, she said, fingers trembling as she held the pen. No, this is consequences. I remained standing, Leah and my father flanking me. You can't sell the house without my cooperation, and you won't get that until things change. Elijah, sitting beside our mother, reached for her hand. Mom, just sign it. Chloe's right. This has gone on long enough. Et tu, Elijah? She turned to him, tears welling. After everything I've done for you? That's exactly the problem, he said quietly. Everything you've done for me, and nothing for Chloe. I never saw it before, but I see it now. Tessa, our family lawyer, cleared her throat. Mrs. Mackenzie, the terms are quite reasonable. Equal inheritance, joint decision-making power over family assets, and a seat on the board of the new development project. And the house? My mother's voice was barely a whisper. Remains in the family trust, I said, with all of us as equal trustees. No more playing favorites, no more secret decisions. My father stepped forward. Viviana, please, our daughter has built something remarkable. It's time we acknowledge that. By holding our home hostage? By demanding respect, I corrected, something you never gave freely. The room fell silent except for the soft ticking of the wall clock. Finally, my mother picked up the pen. "You'll regret this," she said, signing with a flourish, "turning family against family." "No, Mother, you did that all on your own." As soon as she signed, Natasha entered with the development contracts. "Perfect timing. Shall we discuss the future of the neighborhood?" The next hour was a blur of signatures and legal terms. My mother refused to look at anyone, signing where indicated with rigid movements. Elijah surprisingly supported every proposal, even suggesting ways to incorporate my company's branding into the development. "There's one more thing," I said as the last document was signed, "the family photo wall in the house." "What about it?" My mother snapped. "It's coming down. All of it. We're replacing it with a new one, featuring everyone's achievements, equally." "I have those clippings," my father said quickly, "and photos from your company launches, your awards ceremonies." "I have some too," Elijah added, "from that time you spoke at Harvard Business School. I kept the program." I turned to him surprised. "You came to that?" "Of course I did. You're my sister." He looked down. I should have said something then about how impressive it was. "But Mom?" "But I wouldn't have approved," our mother finished bitterly. "Is that what you're saying?" "Yes," he said firmly. "That's exactly what I'm saying." Natasha gathered the contracts. "Well, I'd say this has been a productive morning. Chloe, shall we meet tomorrow to discuss the groundbreaking ceremony?" After she left, my mother stood abruptly. "I suppose you're all very pleased with yourselves." "Mom," I said, softer now, "this isn't about pleasing anyone. It's about fixing what's broken." "Nothing was broken until you—" "Everything was broken," my voice cracked. "Every time you dismissed my achievements, every time you praised Elijah while ignoring me, every time you made me feel like I wasn't enough, it broke something, and now I'm finally strong enough to fix it." Leah touched my shoulder supportively. My father moved to stand beside me. "The question is," I continued, "are you strong enough to admit you were wrong?" My mother looked around the room, at Elijah's determined face, at my father's quiet support, at the signed documents that changed everything. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or regret. "I need time," she said finally. "Take all the time you need," I replied. "The house isn't going anywhere, and neither am I." She left without another word, my father following after giving me a quick hug. Elijah lingered. "That photo from my Harvard speech," I said. "You really kept it?" "I keep a lot of things." He pulled out his phone, showing me a folder of saved articles about my company. "I was proud of you, Chloe. I just didn't know how to say it without making Mom angry." "And now?" "Now?" He smiled slightly. "Now I'm saying it. You're incredible, sis, and I'm sorry it took this to make me admit it." After everyone left, Leah hugged me tightly. "You did it. You actually did it." "Yeah," I said, looking at the signed documents. "But why doesn't it feel like victory?" "Because it's not over," she replied wisely. "This isn't about winning or losing anymore. It's about healing." I nodded, thinking of my mother's face as she signed the will. "The hard part's just beginning, isn't it?" "Probably," Leah agreed. "But this time, you're not facing it alone." The construction crews had finally left for the day, leaving the neighborhood peacefully quiet as I stood in the family home's living room, supervising the hanging of the new photo wall. The old Elijah-centric display had been carefully packed away, replaced by a balanced chronicle of our family's true history. My phone buzzed. A text from Natasha. Press is confirmed for tomorrow's opening. Your mother? Still deciding, I replied, though I knew she wouldn't come. The symmetry is perfect, Leah said, stepping back to admire our work. Look at how your Forbes cover balances with Elijah's Business Weekly feature. And your father's engineering awards, Valeria added, adjusting a frame. Who knew he had so many patents? The front door opened and my father walked in, carrying a small box. I found more photos in the attic. Dad, we're running out of wall space, I laughed, but stopped when I saw his expression. He pulled out a dusty frame. Your mother took this, the day you won your first debate championship. The photo showed teenage me, beaming with a trophy, while my mother stood beside me, actually smiling. I'd forgotten that smile existed. I remember that day, I said softly. She took me for ice cream afterward. Before Elijah got into Harvard, my father finished. Before everything changed. Put it up, Leah suggested, right in the center. As we worked, the door opened again. This time it was Elijah, looking tired but determined. Julia left, he announced without preamble. What? I turned from the wall. Why? She wanted the fairy tale, the perfect family, the society wedding, the dream house in the development. He shrugged. I told her I was done pretending. Are you okay? I asked. Actually, yeah. He studied the photo wall. Hey, is that from the debate championship? Mom looks happy. She was, my father said. We all were. Before we lost our way, a voice said from the doorway. We all turned to see our mother standing there, clutching her handbag like a shield. The development opening is tomorrow, she said stiffly. I assume you're expecting me to attend? Only if you want to, I replied carefully. She stepped into the room, eyes fixed on the photo wall. You kept the old photos. The real ones, I said. The ones that tell our whole story, not just the version you wanted to see. She reached out, touching the debate championship photo. You were so proud that day, and I was proud too, until you decided Elijah's achievements were the only ones that mattered. Until I convinced myself that was true, she corrected quietly. I was wrong, Chloe. The room went still. In 32 years, I'd never heard those words from her. I was so focused on building the perfect family image that I destroyed the real one. She turned to face me. The development plans you made, keeping the house, building around it, preserving what matters while creating something new. That's what I should have done with our family. Mom, Elijah started. Let me finish. She straightened her shoulders. I can't undo the past, but I can do better now, starting with tomorrow's opening. What about it? I asked. I'd like to speak, to publicly acknowledge both my children's achievements, if you'll let me. I looked at Leah, who nodded encouragingly, then at my father, who was smiling through tears. Okay, I said, but no more pretending, no more perfect family facade. No, she agreed, just us, as we are. She stepped closer to the wall, examining each photo carefully. We should add the newspaper clipping from your first real estate deal and Elijah's Community Service Award, the one he got for teaching business skills to at-risk youth. You knew about that? Elijah asked, surprised. I know more than I've shown, she admitted. I was just too proud to acknowledge anything that didn't fit my plan. As we worked together, adding new photos and rearranging others, I felt something shift in the room, like a weight lifting or a window opening after a long winter. There, my mother said finally, stepping back. Now it tells the truth. I looked at our family's story spread across the wall. The triumphs and failures, the perfect moments and the messy ones. All of it real, all of it ours. The truth looks good on us, I said. My mother reached for my hand, then Elijah's. Yes, she agreed softly. It does. Outside, the setting sun cast long shadows through the windows, illuminating our new family photo wall. Not perfect, not flawless, but finally, beautifully honest.